Ah, there we are. And a bunch of you are here already. Okay. I think you guys are getting the hang of the whole. It's like bar hopping, says Lisa. Exactly. I was thinking of it more like making a daisy chain, but I think that's more of an adult. You're more adult about it. Okay. So, it is so ironic. First of all, how many of you who are listening are not white? Okay. It is so ironic. Hey, Toss Nuns. It is so ironic that she literally starts the essay by being like, um, oh, you guys are not white. Well, that's good. Because she literally starts the essay by being like a bunch of white women got together. Oh, hey, Anang, you're here. A bunch of white women got together and we were like, we're gonna deconstruct our racism and like educate ourselves. And then black women were like, but you can't do it by yourselves. And yet here I am, a white woman reading a white woman's essay to try to understand. Like, I didn't realize until I sat down to start reading it that I was like, "Oh my god." Like, okay, I told you guys before, right? Like, my plan is to kind of like study radical feminism generally because I think it's a, like a starting point, and then later go into like womanism and stuff, right? Like to kind of do one thing at a time. But then I realized today that by doing this, what I'm doing is that the primary oh, you're Maori tall stones. That's very cool. Um, in Canada, we don't hear much about Maori people or anything other than Dwayne the Rock Johnson, obviously. Anyway, so that I have realized that because of like the way I've decided I'm going to like do my readings, that my primary and foundational understanding of racism is going to come from white women. So what I have decided is perhaps after perhaps I should mix in some Angela Davis or Audre Lorde or something sooner rather than later. Anyway, um, Sabrina, why do you hate radical feminism? Don't answer that. I don't want to fight with you. Lisa says she does not vibe with this essay. Tell me why, Lisa. Um, I think there could be like so many criticisms of this essay from so many different angles, and she doesn't she literally says she's like I know that because I'm white that no matter what I do can be categorized as racist on the issue. So I guess she was trying to get ahead of that, but let's go through it. Um, I don't know. Also, are you? I okay. First of all, I like never hear this word. I don't know if it's because I'm Canadian or because of my era, but am I even allowed to say this word, mulatto? Isn't that like an offensive slur or something? I don't know. I don't know. Yogi says I was laughing the whole time. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Okay. Um, some people find that word offensive. Okay, that's what I thought, but like I'd never come across that word. Whatever she said towards the end, the last two paragraphs. Let us go to the last two paragraphs, Lisa Michelle. 128. Okay. Yeah, Anung says nobody's used that since the 1980s. It's archaic. Yeah. Like she also uses like how can I communicate this to you? Negroes. She uses that word. She's only used it once, and when I saw it, I said, "Oh, the N word," because I was like, "I'm not fucking saying that." uh, but that word too, it's like you never come across. Isn't that like also archaic? You never come across that anymore. Um, um, it's too old of a word for anyone to. Okay, thanks. Give me a second. I need to change my shirt because I was gonna take this off. That I realized my work shirt is underneath. Give me a second. Okay, so it's a pretty long essay, and there's like a bunch of you here who were actually here for the reading. So if there is specific stuff you want me to address while you're here, let me know. Um No, it's a different word. I know people who use it ironically. Okay. The N word should be okay if you're talking about history. I mean, you say that, but first of all, I'm not comfortable saying it, and also, like, I'm not saying that on camera so somebody can cut it out of context. uh, we shouldn't read cat books about Momo. Oh, hey, VF. Oh, we should read cat books about Momo. Well, Momo, say hello to the people. I'm from Miami. It gets used here a lot. Yeah, okay. Because it's like Latino specific, right? Isn't it? No, it's not. Is it? I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, let's get on with things. Okay. Sabrina says lesbian culture is loving cats. I agree. It's southern. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I don't know. A lot of this shit is like very American and like I'm not an American. Okay. Like I think what percentage of Canada is black? It's like 2% or something. Like there's not that and they don't live that much in like isn't don't most of the black people in Canada live in New Brunswick? I think I drove there once when I was like 7. Ah. Anung says N bombs aren't okay anymore. We used to say everything in the 70s, but it's a different time now. Oh, I see. Interesting. I was obviously not around back then. Yeah, I no. Anyone who is concerned, I definitely did not think or plan or want to say the N word. Don't worry. Okay. I feel like we're very in the weeds. Let's read the last 2 paragraphs. Lisa Michelle said she mentioned she had issues with it. So I'm not gonna like actually read it. I'm gonna like read it and respond as I go through. Okay. So, um, feminists make use of a distinction between being male and being a quote unquote man or masculine. So this she's talking about in the metaphysical sense, right? So like being anatomically male is one thing. Being male in the metaphysical and social sense is another thing. Um, I have enjoined males of my acquaintances set themselves against masculinity. So don't contribute to the problem. Um, I've asked them to think about how they can stop being men. This she means the metaphysical sense of men. Um, no, I'm not saying it's American, but I'm saying in Canada you never hear that term. I'm pretty sure there's more Cubans in America than there is in Canada. Um, although a ton of Canadians have Cuban citizenship now because they want to own property there. It's very bizarre. Um, so I've asked them to think about how they can stop being men. And when she means men here, she means in the metaphysical sense. She doesn't mean stop being male. She means stop existing in relation to women and men in the patriarchal sense. That's what I'm getting out of this. Oh, thanks, Anang. Oh, big disclaimer. I'm not qualified to talk about this. This is the first ever serious piece of literature I have read about race. And obviously, like I said, I'm regretting that it is by a white woman. Like, I definitely should have started with Audre Lorde or something. Okay. But I was like, I'm just going to read the book. I don't know. Anyway, okay, let's go. So, oh, did you not know that was a thing, VF? Yeah, because to own property in Cuba, you have to be a Cuban citizen. So, like, rich Canadians, because, like, lots of Canadians, uh, a lot of Canadians, they want to be like, they're snowbirds. They go to Florida for the summer. But if you're rich, you're too cool to go to Florida for the summer. So instead, you go to like Cuba. And if you don't want to be in a resort, you want to own property, you get citizenship. Okay, let's keep going. Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to get. Oh, fuck. You know what I should do? I should cover the thing. This is the perfect size. Paycheck. Stay? No. I'm like, it's perfect now. It won't stay. Nope, this is not going to work. Ooh, a paycheck that's bent in a different direction. Florida is the toilet of America. Well, VF is here. I think that's kind of rude to say. Okay, so right. So she says, I want you to stop being, I asked them, think about how you can stop being men. And she means in sense of your relation to women or your relation to men to being like in patriarchy, right? She says, I do not know how they can stop being men, but I think it is thinkable and it is a counsel of hope. This kind of ties back to what she was saying in the separatism essay, which is like, we need to imagine. If we can't even imagine a future where we are not being oppressed or we're not contributing to oppression. How are we supposed to get there? She is like she's like even imagining it and thinking about it and psychologically preparing yourself for it is a big important step, and a lot of people don't take that step. So I think she's drawing this parallel here. Then she says, likewise, I can set myself against whiteness, and it's capitalized whiteness here. So she means whiteness as in the systemic power. It's I don't know how to indicate that when I'm reading. Like sometimes she'll say man, and then she'll say like the man, and it's capitalized. I don't know how to tell you guys that it's capitalized. I try and change the inflection in my voice, but um, I can give myself the injunction to stop being white. So like to stop contributing to the racial disparity, basically. Is disparity the right word in this context? I think so. I do not suggest for a moment that I can disaffiliate by a private act of will or by any personal strategy. Yeah, so she's like, I can't obviously like just decide to stop having white privilege. Although I'm very grateful she never uses that bullshit term in this. Like she doesn't go into like the whole. She doesn't fall into the rhetorical concept of privilege, which I am happy about. I mean, she's a philosopher. It'd be pretty depressing if she was like one of the modern philosophers who's all rhetorical bullshit. Um, right. Nor okay, and she also says by personal private act. What she's talking about is that these power structures are relational. So nothing you do as an individual is like internally she makes much of a difference. What makes a difference is how you're relating to the people around you. Um, so she's like prepare yourself psychologically, but you actually need to like change your relation to the people around you and the power structures around you. I mean, okay, I don't know. This is like my interpretation of what she's saying, obviously. Okay. Um, nor certainly is it accomplished by thinking it possible. To think it thinkable shortcuts no work and shields one from no possibility. This is very similar to the separatism essay. Like, imagine separatism, think about separatism, try and get yourself there. Um, but even if you act in a separatist way, society will still be patriarchal, right? I think that's kind of what she's saying here. It's like you can try and deconstruct your privilege and um, the dynamics through which you have learned to think. You can deconstruct that, but just imagining a possibility of not thinking that way doesn't make it a possibility to dismantle white supremacy. I mean, again, this is my interpretation of what she's saying. Then she says, quite the contrary, it may be necessary prerequisite to assuming responsibility, and it invites the honorable work of radical imagination. Um, so she's saying, I mean, this is what my understanding of what she's saying here is even imagining a possibility, uh, imagining a future in which white supremacy is not the dominant power, um, this puts the onus on you to understand how you contribute or profit from it, right? I think that's what she's saying. Quite contrary, it may be a necessary prerequisite to assuming responsibility, and it invites the honorable work of radical imagination. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hardline about it, but that's kind of what I think the last two paragraphs are. Um, no, Lisa, I don't think. Oh, Aisha gave me $5. Thank you very much, Aisha. Um, gracias. Um, VF, she's not saying don't self ID. She's talking about metaphysics. Like if you listen to all the essays thus far, she talks a lot about how like the conception of the self and the conception of your relation to others forms your acts and your attitudes towards yourself and to the people around you, and informs the way that you want to be perceived and the way that you think people perceive you. And like all of this all of these little things, the thought patterns, the customs, the stereotypes, the expectations, all of this is patriarchy, right? It's not one thing, it's everything. And I think in this, she's trying to say, like, all the metaphysical framework I've set up of like power structures now apply everything you've learned about the power structures so far to whiteness instead of to males. Um, I think that's what she's talking about. Lisa said the whole essay is about white privilege, I thought. Yeah, so I thought so too. She says, unless my listening comprehension sucks, which it might, I don't think so. I think, yes, that was one of my main thoughts about it. That's why I started off by saying, well, people could say different things from different, they're looking at it from different angles. I do think it was like, I don't know, she's obviously trying. Anung says the honorable work of radical imagination, 80s snark. There's like at least two lines in this essay where it felt like she was being like overtly sassy. um no, I know that race and sex are different, and she even says that. She literally, because I think you missed it, but she's like, when she starts the essay, she's like, here are two spheres in which, no, not even spheres. Here are two concepts which are like, if you understand them for feminism, you can understand them for racism. And then she says, these are the two concepts that are the same. After that, everything is different. So she is like, you can start your understanding with your feminism, but you need to go past that in like, educate yourself in a new direction to understand really what racism is. um right, what was I saying? Oh, the white oh, you did catch it all. Okay. The white privilege and the white guilt thing. Yeah. So to me, so far, a lot of the essays, well, all the essays have been taking you through think through, why do you have this assumption? Think through, why do you act this way? Right? Think through, why is society this way? And this essay, think I didn't e experience it the same way. I didn't feel like she was making me, like, I don't know. I think that it's part of it is the when this book was written, right? Like, the content of the essay would have been different if she had written it in, like, 1991 instead of 1981, right? I don't know. Um, but it did seem to me kind of, like, self-indulgent, almost. Kind of like, at least at the beginning, like, this is, but I don't know, it's so complicated because I think she was trying to make it, like, understandable. Like, I think that's why she puts the anecdotes in the way she does, because she's trying to be like, here's all this philosophical abstract stuff, and then she's trying to make it concrete for you, right? But it did feel very much to me like she was basically being like, I feel guilty about it, and this is how I'm gonna like make myself feel less guilty about it. And like, to me, the one big thought I have about this essay is, coming away from it, I don't know what to do. Maybe that was her intention. Maybe she's not the person to tell us what to do. But coming away from it, I don't feel like I have a clear sense of like, oh, this is the problem and this is how we're gonna fix it, you know? Like, what she's really telling us is that she also talks about it when she talks about the white women, like, I'm not okay, with like capitals, white woman, right? And then she, um, I don't know. I'm not going to go through the whole essay because it's like 30 pages. But there's a point where she talks about white women with capitals, and then she talks about black women and like how white women perceive them as having womanhood lowercase. And so this ties back to her personhood, right? And so what she's implying there with the punctuation or capitalization or whatever is that white women see black women as women, and because we see them as women, we don't see them as having the same personhood as we see as having white women having. So I think that was kind of constructive. That was kind of saying, we need to do what men need to do for women. You need to assume, like, learn to respect personhood first and foremost before anything else. I mean, that's kind of me reading between the lines. I'm not sure, but yeah, anyway, okay, let me see what you guys are saying. So Lisa says she made a lot of blanket statements about how white people are and how they think based on what data, her guesses. Yeah, but Lisa, this is the way the entire book is. I don't think it's like a unique thing. I get what you're saying, but it's not like a unique to this essay. Um Lisa says like white people are not a monolith. Yeah. Radical Rambling says, I feel like the Donald Glover pizza room fire gif right now. I know what you're talking about. I don't know what I've walked into. Radical, are you also white? Yeah. I mean, she does speak in generalizations, but it's because she's trying to make philosophical points. Like, it's weird. She's like in this strange space in most of her essays um, between like this is like my abstract theoretical understanding of things and like this is like some anecdotal real world stuff to like back that up. Um, Tossstone says, when I studied anthropology, the use of the word race was discouraged. Ethnicity and culture were used instead. That's something that she talks about at the beginning of the book. She's kind of like, even the concept of race doesn't make any sense. Like, it's not concrete thing. Like, if you look at like the original definition of race, it has to do with like ethnicity and like kinship, like being related to the same, like coming from the same background. And she's like, but you can be from the same background and look different, or look the same and be from two different backgrounds. That is like the first couple of pages are really about colorism, right? Um, and that also, I do not, I am not equipped to have much opinions on colorism. Um, oh, okay, VF says, okay, but before I was listening about assuming people are het or white, but white you can see and there are more hets, so that's just common sense. Yeah, but it's about the mindset, I think is her point. Because so in the essay, I think it's the sexism essay. No, it's the in the problem that has no name. That's the personhood essay. In the personhood essay, she says, the first thing you notice about someone, even from the corner of your eye when you can't really see them, even from body language, the first thing you notice are they male or female. And she says it's on this first basis, before you even register anything else about them, that you register, do they have personhood or not, right? And I think what she's trying to say is that, um, like, white women do the same thing to black women. The first thing we perceive about them is that they're women, and then the second thing we perceive about them is their skin color, and on this basis we have less respect for them. And she views respect as only possible when you see someone as a full person. So yeah, that I guess is constructive. VF says everyone assumes things that are statistically more common. That's not oppressing. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Yeah, I feel the same. Lisa says, I understand that I see things from a white perspective and I speak from that perspective. I'd like to try to see more from other perspectives, but I can only ever speak from a white perspective. Yeah, I think that's kind of the like the thesis of the essay, but she doesn't draw it back to that at the end. Yeah. I what I so let's I'm trying to think through what constructive information she gave us. So the first thing she talks about is listening and really hearing what other women of color have to say. And she talks about this initial experience, right, where this woman was saying that criticizing them and her instinct, you're crazy. And she was like, whoa, why? Why do I think she's crazy? Because I don't see things the same way she sees them. Um, and so she talks about really listening and understanding the alternative perspective. That's okay. So like that's kind of like the first instruction she gave us. The next thing she told us is about white women seeing black women, their race. Like she talks about how white women view it as like a possibility to like tangentially, okay, in a patriarchal society, males have personhood, women don't have personhood, okay? Keep that in mind while I'm explaining this. White women don't have personhood, right? They want to have personhood and race privilege. How do they get this? The like the associated personhood they get through their relationship to men, right? You know when men are like, I don't care about women. Oh yeah, but my mother. That's what I'm talking about. Like they have associated personhood through their relationship to men, right? And she says that black men, they see the same thing. They see, oh, well, we're men. So we should have the same power that the men have. That like they're trying to like, and it doesn't work that way. And she's like, women need to stop trying to fucking bargain with men because first of all, we're never going to become men, like capital men as in humans, like full persons. And also because like we're fucking over our sisters. And she is like a lesbian separatist, so she's like the sisters matter more like than the misters, obviously. Um Anung says colorism was a big issue in Michigan in the late 70s, especially in Detroit. There was a big civil rights suit in the post office about discrimination based on color. Patriarchy and racist colonialism really messed up all our heads, and you have to struggle every day with it. You have to want to undo your indoctrination and admit it exists. Yeah. Phil says, so is that political lesbian? No, she's not a political lesbian. She's a lesbian feminist. Lesbian feminist is not inherently political lesbian, although I assume political lesbians would refer to themselves as lesbian feminists. Um, but that's het privilege. Yeah, but she argues even in this book, she never like. First of all, she doesn't even use privilege the way that we do. I think she probably used the term privilege like twice in the whole essay. Um, and I don't like this kind of oversimplistic absolutist concept of privilege the way that we use it a lot. Like not we, but like society at this point in time. So, but her position in the book so far seems to be because she is like a separatist that any bargain a woman strikes with a man in an attempt um to better her situation is disadvantageous to her because the man has all the power the entire time, right? So I don't know what she would think about heterosexual privilege. Like she obviously thinks that she mentioned, right? Like what happens when you come out as a lesbian, you get ostracized and like you face like joblessness and homelessness and whatever. So obviously she's not saying that hets don't get any, but I think she thinks that hetero women are at a disadvantage rather than an advantage. You know what I mean? Like that's generally the sense I've gotten so far. Um there's two more essays in this book. So the next one, which I'm very excited about, like the reason I read this right now was because I thought I could get to the next essay because I'm really excited for it. And I definitely will have more. VF says we should unite, like the lesbians and the straight women. I agree. Come hang out with us. Stay away from the men. um, so I'm gonna end this pretty soon. Um, because I really, really want to read the next essay. The next essay is Lesbian Feminism and the Gay Rights Movement, Another View of Male Supremacy, Another Separatism. Based on what Anung was saying about the lesbian and gay alliances in the 70s in Michigan, I'm pretty sure that's going to come up. I'm pretty sure she's going to be talking about the gay liberation movement and how the men fucked over the women at every fucking possible turn. Um, like, I mean, just look at the Daughters of Bilitis and, like, the way the men fucking treated them. They were like, yeah, come be our mouthpieces at XYZ. Anyway, whatever. I'm not going to get into it. And then the last essay, I think, is probably going to be the most. What was the word you used? Oh, you said theoretical. But I think it's probably going to be the most, like, cerebral essay. The last essay is, like, To Be and Be Seen, The Politics of Reality. So, like, the book's title. I'm really glad that I read all of them and I read them in order because they definitely seem to be building on top of each other. Lisa says the disadvantage is in being het is that you want to be separatist. Your only choice is celibacy. Yeah. There's several disadvantages to being straight, like a straight woman. Yeah. Sabrina, I have felt a similar thing. Um, Sabrina says, I feel like a lot of bi women are jealous of lesbians for not being haunted by attraction to men. Ugh. Tostone says, Elizabeth Karekare is a male politician in New Zealand who has distorted Maori history and culture to fit the trans agenda. There's the fucking like prepare yourself. Okay, you're about to feel like you dropped too much acid. The leader. What is even the name of that position? It's like a volunteer position. I don't know. The leader of the Dyke March for 4 years in a row in Toronto was a man who was white, who called himself a Desi goddess. He wore a bindi, he wore a sari, he's white. And then they're like, "Oh, why does nobody come to the Dyke March?" Maybe because all of the like women of color were like, "This is fucking racist," and why this person is in charge. So yeah, toss stones. I totally feel you. That shit. Oh my god. Okay, there is this fucking scrote. Okay, another insane situation. A fucking scrote. Okay, what is his name even? Oh my god, what's his name? Who fucking cares what his name is? Okay, isn't that the same scumbag from UVic? No, that's another one. There's two of them. One in Ontario and one in BC. Because, you know, we need more racist pieces of shit men. So, oh my god, what the fuck is his name? Okay, whatever. There's this dude who won the Governor General's Award for Poetry, who did his PhD in like indigenous poetry or some shit. Or like, I don't fucking know, okay? But basically, and he definitely got grants and did workshops. Like, the reason we know about this is because tons of indigenous, like 6 or 8 indigenous academics in Canada, got together and they were like, look, these are all of this dude's publications, and in each of them he says, this is my tribe, this is the residence that I grew up on, or like this is the where, right? And they're like, first of all, none of it makes sense. It's all different. They were like, we contacted people who live there, we contacted his family members, we asked them, you know, which tribe are you associated, where did he grow up, where what is the situation? The entire thing was made up. There was no indigenous anything about this guy. And he got the Governor General's Award. He got a PhD in this. He got multiple grants from the government. And for what? For lying that he's a man who thinks he's an indigenous woman. Fucking disgusting. Piece of shit. And so these indigenous women, academics, got together and they were like, yeah, he's lying. And then Gwen Benaway. That's his fucking name. Gwen Benaway. And then what happened? Nothing. Nobody did anything. That they wrote the letter, they published the letter, everybody read the letter, nothing happened. Like, this shit is fucking disgusting and it's happening everywhere. It's really, really disturbing. Like, really, really disturbing. Didn't this happen in the UK too? Wasn't there some kind of like women of color officer or something? There was at some university, there was some position which was specifically supposed to be like to support women of color, and the person who got into that position was a white man who said he identified as an Asian man. Do you guys remember this? I think it was like at Cambridge or Oxford or something. Like, it was some really, really prestigious university. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna stop ranting about these fucking moids. Okay. Anung says women of color separating from the separatists was a thing in East Lansing at the time. Marilyn was one of the few white women who wanted to listen or who gave a shit about the women of color, about how the women of color felt. That's so, why wouldn't the other women care about how the other women felt? Like, it's so, I'm not trying to say I'm not racist, but like I literally grew up as like in a situation, like, okay, this is what happened. When I got to university, I felt like things were very strange and I couldn't put my finger on why it was strange. 3 weeks into being at university, I suddenly realized for the first time in my life, I was in a situation where I was white and the majority of people around me were white. Like, literally, my first orchestra that I was in, I was one of 4 white people in the orchestra. Like, my elementary school, all of the kids were Korean, Persian, and there was a few like Ukrainian or Russian immigrants. Like, I was always in a situation where I like minority white and like very, very multicultural. Like, Toronto is like super, super multicultural. Oh my god, that's what I laughed about when they were like, "Look at Canada, like the percentage of immigrants," and I'm like, "You should look at the data now, man." Like, what is the statistic that Canada? I can't remember, but it's like some insane thing where it's like more than half of Canada's population will be like immigrants from within the last 30 years by a certain date or something. Like, we take in so many immigrants that like they hugely outnumber like the whoever was here before. So I was just, when they mentioned that, I was like, it's gonna get much worse. Get ready. Okay. Um, but yeah, I don't know. What happened? Why are we sorry? Oh yeah, VF. So common. This is why I will not date bi women. Sorry, bi women, but like literally, I've met too many lesbians who had this happen to them. VF says bi women dump lesbians for an easier life. At times too, really happens. Happened to me, and she still called me the love of her life. While I just cringe over it. Yeah. So many. So many. Um, Lesbians have this story. They were dating some woman, and the woman was like, "Become a troon." No. And then the woman was like, "Okay, I found a boyfriend. I'm gonna leave you." Like so many fucking women have that story now, and I'm like, I'm not fucking doing that shit. Anung says there was a trans woman pretending to be Cree who writes stuff about how we need to open our ceremonies to the trans cult. I remember him being outed. Piece of shit. There was another one named Stacy something. Jackie got him. Tostone says Georgina Bayer, another man influencing government policy. He is the first trans member of parliament. Ugh. Were they Russian or Russian speaking? Are you talking about the kids I went to school with? Most of the kids I went to school with in elementary school were immigrants. I'm not sure why, like new immigrants. I'm not sure why, like because like geographically it was in a really Chinese neighborhood. Like that's where I lived and it was very very Chinese. Like all my neighbors are Chinese. There's one Persian guy, Iranian whatever. And then yeah, so when I was like a little kid I learned how to swear in Korean, Russian, and Arabic. um Anung says there was has always been a racism in the lesbian feminist community. There's a reason why we demanded a woman of color tent at Mishfest. Alex Dobkin and Marilyn Fry supported us. Oh my god, do you also know Alex Dobkin? Of course you do. Anung says there's a racism problem with GC women from a certain island too. We have Sunday night bitch sessions about it. Really. Um, Anung is like, don't date bisexual or political lesbian girl. No, I'm not going to. I have thought in the past about dating a fem, but after my last experience with my ex, where she was a rad fem until she was not a rad fem, I'm like, a fem is just a bi. I should like treat them as such, you know. Um, Yogi says I'm a mix of things, but I look so Russian that Russian men approach me assuming I speak Russian. Yeah, my dad, he looks very like he doesn't look Russian, but he grew up. He's not Russian, but he grew up in USSR and we grew up like my I moved a couple times when I was little. The very first neighborhood that I was like old enough to remember living in was like a Hasidic Jewish Russian neighborhood. Which I loved because there's like so many really good bakeries around me. But we would like go to the grocery store or something and like all of these Russian people would be like really rude and like mean and stuff. I don't know. That's just how they are apparently. And they would like swear or something and my dad because he knows Russian would like mouth back to them and they would always look shocked because he doesn't look at all like he should speak Russian. Where in USSR. Um oh my god, I was just talking to my family the other day. I should remember what well I know they lived in multiple places. At one point they definitely lived in Siberia. And then the last place that he lived before they moved to Canada is now Kazakhstan, and my grandparents showed me where it was on a map once, and it's, like, really, really close to the Chinese border, which was so strange to me because they're, like, really racist against Chinese people. That's something else about okay, let's get back to the essay. That's something else about the essay. It's, like, not that, nobody should care about Black women, obviously, okay, but it was very Black women focused, and, like, most of the women of color that I come like 95% of the women of color I come in contact with are, like, Asian or East Asian or whatever, at least in my day to day. Like, I yeah. So it felt a little bit like, Borat. No, not Borat. Nobody speaks Kazakh. They all speak Russian or Ukrainian. Nobody speaks Kazakh. Um, Sabrina said, "I actually would think it would be so interesting to, like, befriend a political lesbian because what the fuck is going on, man? Like, what the fuck is going on?" You know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to know why? Like, why? You know? Okay. Um, Sabrina's not that I would it's like a lot of time investment, probably not. Sabrina says, "I would also never date a bi woman. I don't want to feel like they're sacrificing a normal life to be with me, or I have to work extra hard just to keep them instead or interested." Yeah, it's pretty depressing. In USSR, there's a lot of racism and nationalism. So my dad's family actually faced religious persecution in the USSR, and so they are, and like literally, my grandmother's sister died of starvation in USSR because of religious persecution reasons. So they are very anti-USSR. Um, and like because of their religion, they are like anti-government and anti-military. But then my grandfather was conscripted into military service anyway, so they also view it as like the government, like whatever, fucked them over religiously, like that they prevented them from following their religion. So, um, um, Oh, Anang says, "Yeah, I knew Alex. She was just like any other of the gang. It's weird to have young women get so excited about women that were just my everyday peers to me." Ugh. It's like I don't know. I wonder how many of the women I know now in like 50 years it'll be like, "Oh my god, you knew her." Oh, hey Cyber. Um okay. Let's discuss the essay a little bit more and then I think I'm going to read. Wait, what time do I have to be at work tomorrow? This should be factored into my decision making. I think I need to be at work at 5:30 in the morning. It's now 7. Ideally, I'll be unconscious around 9 or 10, which really means like 10 or 11. Yeah. Okay. Anung says, I always thought the quote unquote political lesbians were just saying it was their choice because of internalized homophobia and a need to feel like they were making a conscious choice to love a woman. Yeah. Yeah. It's very nuanced. Like, not the concept of political lesbian, but like the difference between like I am consciously deciding to not fulfill my conditioning and socialization, and I'm just deciding I don't want to date men. Like, or like the nuanced decision to be like, I will not fulfill my conditioning and socialization and stereotypes and expectations, or I need a reason to be allowed to be a lesbian. Like, I look back at like the very beginning of when I accepted that I was a lesbian, when I left the like that I thought it was bi. And I'm like, how much of it was that? How much of it was like I need a reason, like an excuse? Like I think when the first like I read the compulsory heterosexuality essay like 4 times or whatever in like a week. And I think that I needed like an excuse. Like you're sick, I needed an excuse to be like, "Oh yeah, I'm a lesbian." Um so I guess it was like good for me then, but like I don't need an excuse. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if I'm making sense here. Um like I definitely felt like even though I knew my attraction was to women, like I needed an excuse to not date men still, if that makes sense. Oh, hey, Grey Witch. Um, oh, bye, VF. Thanks for dropping in. Um, Interesting, Sabrina. Sabrina says compat theory is 90% just by women using it as an excuse to identify as lesbians and excuse their attraction to men. Very interesting. Honestly, I don't know that many women who've read compet or who would recommend it to people. Um, I recommended it to a lot of women because I've said to them, even if you don't agree with what's in it, I think it's like a good thought exercise, you know? Like I think like like these essays, they pull you intellectually in a lot of different directions that you might not go by yourself, right? Um yeah, definitely my thoughts. Like the first time I read the essay, I felt very like I don't know, like it was speaking to me. Like there was someone who understood me. That's how I felt the first time I read it. And I read it more recently, like I don't know, within the last 6 months or something. And I remember reading it and thinking, "Wait, isn't all of this like a justification for political lesbianism?" So I've definitely moved on it, but I don't know. Um I'm not talking about political lesbianism today. It's too like complicated. Okay. Let me just quickly um it's interesting reading it now. Like even the way she just says like the blacks or she says the Jews, like it's to just say that now is considered racist, right? But like it's clear from this that she kind of put herself out there in trying to be anti-racist. And Anung, um, yes, Anung, the Adrian Rich compulsory heterosexuality essay. Um, mhm. um, right, sorry, Joachim, got distracted there for a second. I like how she brought up the idea that when white people are uncertain about the race of someone else, they will assume them to be white. And why do they do this? Because if they assume them to be not white, they view it as an insult. Kind of like how a straight person, if they ran around assuming everybody around them was a lesbian, right? That a bunch of women would be offended, probably, because they view being a lesbian as being like like derogatory compared to being a straight woman, right? And that I found I like that she brought that up because nowadays, I mean, at least in my like day-to-day experience of the world, people seem aware that if you assume someone is straight, you are showing, I mean, at least in my the where I spend my time, people seem aware that if you assume the people around you are straight, you are implicitly implying that you think it would be insulting for them to be gay. Like you wouldn't assume they're gay because that would be an insult to them, right? But I don't think people are have this awareness when it comes to race. Um, Anung says, no, yeah. Anung says if Archie Bunker said the blacks, it was considered racist. I never heard Marilyn use it as a slur IRL. Yeah, no, I didn't think she did. But I just mean like I don't know. I like reading stuff that's like out of its time. It's very like fresh to me. Like it's just totally unexpected. Anung says my experience is that white folks don't have any problem asking you what you are or asking you to interpret their dreams or give them a quote unquote Indian name. Oh my god. Oh my god. I mean, I'm sure that's happened to you, but like what the fuck? Um yeah. Okay. There was a few other little things like that she brought up that I thought were interesting. Like so she brings up how a person who is white might categorize someone who is not that white as white and they think I'm being nice to them. I'm putting them in the better category, so I'm being nice to them. Like you see how people treat gay people about that, right? Or people treat women about that. And it's like totally doesn't some of my interpretations were quite imaginative. So somebody will be like, I had a dream that like I got in bed and there was like ants, and then I woke up and then there was a glass of milk. What does it mean? And you're like, the ants are gonna kill you. Like, is that what you would do? um. Okay. Okay. She talks about universalization. So something that I'm very bad at is I good. Um. although you shouldn't have had to even waste your energy thinking or speaking to them. But I'm definitely guilty of this. I do it all the time. I talk in generalizations. And yeah, I definitely am not thinking. Like I'm like the thing that I speak on with the most authority is probably like why and how people transition and why and how people detransition and all this kind of like who are detransitioners, what are their needs and experiences and whatever. That's kind of the thing that I speak about, I think, with the most authority. And just while reading this essay, I realized there's this, oh my god, I forgot the statistic. I can't remember the numbers, but there's this voluntary survey. So we don't, it doesn't give, it gives us some sense of what's happening in Canada, but not the full sense, right? Because it's not like the NHS in the UK where they keep track of everyone who's transitioning. So there was this voluntary survey in Canada called Trans Youth Can. And the whole thing is very, very suspicious to me from the get go. Like, I'm about to reference some data in it to do with race, which I like in a positive way, but the whole thing is very suspicious. Like, what they define as a detransition and what they define as conversion therapy. I don't know what their definition of conversion therapy is, but it must be insane because it's like 21% of the respondents said they had experienced it in Canada. Like, trans woke people who are going to gender therapists. So, okay. Oh, thanks, Sabrina. Sabrina says your video on what people should ask themselves before transitioning is amazing. I think it's your best work. That was my last video, I think, where I tried to really fence it, where I tried to really be like, I believe some people should transition. I believe no people should transition ever under any circumstances. But I knew that I had to leave that possibility there so that people could listen and actually hear what I was saying, or else they wouldn't be able to understand what I was saying. Um, Right, so the Trans Youth Can survey. The Trans Youth Can survey shows that there is a huge, huge number of Indigenous girls in Canada who are transitioning. Like, I can't remember what the number it was, but it was like when you actually look at like like how many Indigenous people there are in Canada and how many non-Indigenous people there are in Canada, right? It's kind of like prison populations. Like it's just they're way overrepresented considering like the population of the country. So, um, we know right now that a ton of Indigenous girls all over Canada are getting mastectomies and getting on testosterone. And I don't know fucking anything about that at all. Like, the way they access medical care is not the same way non-Indigenous people access it, right? Um, oh my god, Toss Stones, is that really true? Toss Stone says New Zealand has the highest use of puberty blockers globally. What is that, per capita? Um, but yeah, when I make my statements about detransition, I'm talking about the detransitioners I've spoken to. Most of the detransitioners I've spoken to are white. There's definitely some black women, some Latinas, a bunch of Europeans, but I think they're all white. Yeah. So mostly white, the few black women and a couple of different Asian women. And that's it. And I don't know. This essay just made me realize I speak in generalizations, assuming it includes everyone, and that's like erasure of the difference of the experience. Because this to me also, I feel I'm very happy I read the essays in order. She talks about, so basically sexism is like erasing the differences between men and women and like disrespecting them on their differences, kind of. Generally, that's kind of what I got out of it. So again, not to say that misogyny and racism are like parallels, but I'm just trying to like think it through, right? Like, I'm gonna keep going with my thinking on it, but this is like where I am right now. Um oh fuck, I totally lost my train of thought. I don't know. I think it's interesting in the essay how she brought up. So she brings up this Audre Lorde poetry reading, and this woman demanding that she spell out the names of the goddesses for her. She's like, I've already provided that for you. I'm not going to waste my energy doing that again. And she's like, nope, do it for me now. And so this is a woman who's trying to like educate herself, but he's doing it like in a disrespectful way. And um oh, that's what I was saying. Okay. So throughout the book, her conception of respect has to do with acknowledging someone's differences and respecting them based on the differences, not in spite of the differences, right? So I would say in general, what I do is I assume women of color to be the same as white women, and that's disrespectful because I'm not recognizing their differences, right? Right? Um, fuck. Now I forgot the other thing I was saying. Oh yeah. So she is like this woman was trying to like better herself, like educate herself, right? By like putting Audre Lorde on the spot and being like, spell those things for me right now. And at the beginning of the essay, she talks about like, the white women tried to go off and deconstruct their racism without bothering any black women. And I think she is kind of bringing up that there's like a balance to be had, like get information from the source, don't exploit that, do your own work yourself. Don't isolate yourself to the point where you have lost your real connection to the women of color that you're trying to um, have a deeper respect for and a deeper understanding of through your deconstruction of your racist thought patterns or whatever. I don't know. Okay. Anung says your videos really helped me to try to understand detransitioners and transitioners. I never could have imagined that lesbians would be cutting off body parts in the 21st century. Yeah. Um, that's on my reading list, Anung. Anung says this bridge called My Back might be a good book to read as an introduction to racism in the lesbian feminist community. Well, that's gonna be the first one I read then. Write something down somewhere. That is on my I have like a big list of books on like womanism and like black women's radical feminism and stuff like this. And that is on my list, but I'll just make that the first book that I read then. Since you recommended it and you seem to know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, you know what else I really would love to read about? But it's like I have like 50 books to read before I get there. Also the poet Christos. Oh, okay. Um Surrogacy and like modern reproductive rights and exploitation and stuff. Um exactly and exactly, thank you. Um uh yeah, cuz I actually know a couple of different women in Canada who have like done lobbying work and like legal work and who work like in grassroots organizations to do with like surrogacy, like against surrogacy and stuff. And I actually know an academic in Canada who specializes in this, like a radical feminist. And so like I would love to interview them all, but like literally I don't know anything. Like I don't. All I know about the topic is what I've learned from discussions with them, which is not much. And there's like a huge body of work on this, so I need to also read that eventually. Okay. Oh, this to me when she brought this up, I mean, I guess patriarchal religions are just an extension of patriarchy, but the first thing I thought of was like the quiverful movement. Um, Thank you very much, Anung. If it's on the way back machine, I'll look it up. And I know that this bridge called my back. I know that there's like a Tumblr post that I saved that has like a bunch of like radical feminist black women or womanist literature that it's like, here's download the PDF. Um, so yeah, that's what the Duggar is part of. So she talks about how there's like this pressure on black women and white women, but like for different reasons. Like she kind of like says that it's implicitly put on white women, but white women are not aware of it. But I've heard about this, especially from Jewish women before, that there is like a lot of pressure on Jewish women to like, you need to have babies to like replace all of the Jewish people who were killed, right? And so she mentions this pressure that's put on black women to like, you know, keep black people existing basically. Um and I never really thought about that before, and I liked being introduced to that um concept as something to keep in mind. Um yeah, so it reminded me of the Quiverful movement because specifically when she was talking about the white supremacists, because the Quiverful movement is basically I think Andrea Yates was one of the quiverful types. For those of you who don't know, quiverful, it means like a quiver of arrows, white, right? Like you put your arrows to shoot arrows. It's like a reference to a specific whatever in the Bible. It's really creepy, says Lita. Yes, it's very creepy. So basically, their purpose is to have babies. Why are they having babies? Because the babies are the soldiers of God, and God needs more soldiers. So when she was talking about this Klan guy and how he was like, "There's not enough white babies. We need to make sure that there's more white babies," I was like, because you view it as like a war against people of color because there's less white people and you need more like white soldiers to fight them. Like the whole thing is very creepy. Um, Thank you, Anung. Thank you for the explanation, says Phil. Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, it felt very similar to me of like, and to me, when I hear about the Quiverful thing, when I hear about this, my first thought, women are baby makers. You have a war to fight. You need to go and do that. The women, what's their role? Their role is to just make the babies. Like, it's very fucked up. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It is like Nazism. Uta, also hello, Uta. Uta says Nazis did that in occupied Norway. They called it Lebensborn. Yeah. Islam shares this too. Yeah, all religions share this. But I guess it's like a belief in your race, like a faith in your race that's as strong as religion. Or your race supremacy, I guess. Oh yeah, the Catholics. Yeah. Like my grandmother's generation, there was 11 kids, I think. And my great grandmother, she didn't graduate high school because she married some douche. After the douche knocked her up with 11 kids in like a period of like 12 years, he just like was drunk and fucked off and left her. So she worked as a waitress, like crazy hours, and then like the older siblings had to raise the younger siblings, and like a bunch of my aunts or great aunts or whatever went to like grow up in convents and shit because there was no money. Like this fucking dude, he basically just got sex out of my great grandmother. He stuck around long enough, like, and I talked to my great grandmother about this. She's like, even when he was around, he was like a logger, and she was like, I had to find the money to feed the kids even when I didn't have a job because he was an alcoholic. So like he literally contributed nothing. The only thing he contributed to the family was the sperm. That's it. Literally nothing else at all. All he did was take, 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 take. He gave her kids. Like yesterday I was talking about how it's all parasitic, right? Everybody just takes, takes, takes from the women. You have a bunch of kids, you have a husband, take, 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 take. I don't know. I'm just really glad that my great grandmother, like most of her kids are like successful enough in their career that they could afford to support her in her retirement. Because you know, like working as a waitress your whole life is not really conducive to like having a retirement plan. um I'm very glad that she gets to like relax at least now finally. um Unlike my grandmother on my other side who like fucking was like the servant of my grandfather till the day she died. It's like fucking disgusting. Like not of her, of him. Like, your wife was, like, 85 or something. Maybe she could stop making you dinner and cleaning your underwear for one fucking day, and you could do it yourself. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So I like how she talks about how, when radical feminists, like white radical feminists, write about liberation, obviously we're not trying to attain to become men, to attain the same level of power and dominance as men, right? But she is like, we view our liberation in terms of like the men and women of our race specifically. Um, and she's like, it wouldn't make any sense to say like, I want to be liberated. I want to like be able to be in the same position as like a Latino guy when you're a white woman. Like, but it's how basically how we've like cut up liberation into like different sections based on race, and that most white women are not aware that like this is how they're conceptualizing of it because they're like ignorant of the women of color. They're not keeping them the forefront of their mind, right? This to me rung very, very true. I'm sure it's nothing like revolutionary or whatever, but I'm just going to read it. White men's domination and control of white women is essential to their project of maintaining their racial dominance because babies. This is probably part of the explanation of why the backlash against feminism overlaps in time and personnel with renewed intensity and overtness of white racism in this country. When their control of quote unquote their women is threatened, their confidence in their racial dominance is threatened. Yeah, Alita is like, I wouldn't mind a wife either sometimes. Literally in the Sophistries book, one of the like indigenous like alt gender women, um when she's like a hunter gatherer or something, and literally at some point in the book, one of the other dudes of the tribe is like, you do all the men's work, so you should have a wife at home to do the women's work for you so you don't have to do it yourself. And she's like, oh yeah, good idea, I should do that. Like they literally thought of it that way. Like it's so explicit. um I'm not shocked that people are trying to cancel Karen. I mean, obviously, she's quite controversial, but who is doing it and with the intensity that they're doing it is really shocking to me. Lita says just brazenly publishing those instructions. I don't know what it is you're talking about. I haven't seen this yet, but it's not surprising to me. Okay. So I'm not going to do another stream tonight because I need to be at work in 10 hours and I need to sleep and probably do laundry or cook food or something. Um yeah. I don't think I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Look at the schedule. Originally, I had planned to stream tomorrow in the middle of the day between my two jobs because I'll be home at like 11 a.m. and then I don't have my second job until I don't need to leave until 3. But I think I probably have like more practical things to do with my time than this. No offense. Um, I'll look at the Aaron Brewer video. Thank you, Uta. I'm gonna tentatively say the next time I'll see you will be Thursday, 11 a.m. or something. Yeah, I'm gonna tentatively say that that's what's going on. Oh, Lisa, you're still here. No, thank you guys for showing up. It's great to see all of you, like Yogi, Toss Stones, Lita, Sabrina, etc., Pinwheel, A Nung, obviously. All of y'all, put yourself first, Benji. Oh yeah. Well, I'm trying. But also, what's happened? This is the situation. You know that I'm not about to end the stream when I say this is the situation. This is the situation. Um, I don't really like nonfiction, but I've gotten to a point in this book where I'm like enjoying the book and I want to just like finish it. Like I've never done this before, except for Sophistries, which was like very painful. Um, and I'm like, when I get into a book, I will just like not sleep and not eat and just like finish the fucking book. And I that's how I want. Those what I want to do with this. Except I want it to be on YouTube, and it's like I feel like I'm fighting my nature by not just like reading it very quickly till the end. So Anang says, thank you for reading and having the courage to tackle difficult conversations. No, it's like, how are we supposed to, like, we need to do these things. It's like necessary. Like, you know, if it was an option, I would join like a lesbian collective or something, but it's literally not a fucking option for me. This is the option I have. Like, I want a consciousness raise. Yeah, Anang says she didn't care for Sophistries. Me either. It was like a torture, but I was like, I need to finish it. Like, I started it. I'm gonna fucking finish it. Um, but uh yeah, I feel like it's necessary, like it's not even optional. Like I would be doing this without you guys, and I feel like I might as well like share the love, like do it with my sisters, you know. Okay. Thank you very much, Toss Stones, Pinwheel, Grey Witch, Lisa, everyone. Yeah, so I might see you guys tomorrow afternoon, if not some other time. I don't know. I think that the women who, it was on my know your enemies shelf, the Sophistries. Okay, a Nung. I've copy and pasted the book recommendations that you gave me during the stream, but can you like maybe email me? Because if you knew that Sophistries was like queer theory, maybe you will know the other lesbian history books that I want to read if they're all queer theory. Like I try and read the book reviews, but it's hard to know. Um yeah. Anyway, okay. Thank you all very very much for tuning in. This was nice. I hope you all have a great night. I will see you some other day in the future. Um, Great to see you guys too. I'm glad I did this. I wasn't sure if I'd have time today, but I'm glad I did it. Okay. All right. Bye. See you guys. Have a great week.